someone that I hope doesn't have 3 more years left, and hopefully will be gone sooner rather than later. And at the rate he's going, he's not going to last much longer. It's Disney CEO Bob Chapek, the coward that he is. So I say that in full confidence because he is. So Disney just recently, over this past weekend, had something called Destination D23, which is different than their actual D23 conference that they have every couple of years. I've seen some outlets going, Bob Chapek no shows D23. I'm going, it's not the same event. This is a D23 light that they focus just on the theme parks. But isn't it weird that this big event, Disney's biggest event of the year, basically, gets no-showed by the head of the Disney company? So Bob Chapek basically bails on this whole show because, get this, he's worried about being heckled and booed by the live audience. So his representatives basically said, oh, he's got a scheduling conflict. He's got a meeting in Los Angeles. Guys, this has been on the calendar for over a year. Like, this is not something that just magically popped up. And also, if you've got a random meeting or your company's biggest presentation of the year, you reschedule the Los Angeles meeting, not bail on your company's biggest meeting. And then here's the funny thing is, we're not Disney scoopers, we're not Disney reporters, but several Disney people that I do follow were reporting that basically, Chapek doesn't show up because he didn't want to get booed. And Disney reached out to those outlets with very harsh language saying, no, how dare you post such factually inaccurate details? He does have some schedule, very harsh and aggressive language. I'm going, what is with your PR people? It seems like since Chapek's taken control of Disney, Disney's PR people have lost all tact and manners to them. Dare we bring up the rebuttal statement against Scarlett Johansson when she sued Disney and how classless and tasteless that was? Disney's PR
was rough.
Disney's PR has gone down the tube since Chapek has taken over, but he bails on the biggest event of the year, and it's not unheard of to say he would have gotten booed. So on October 1st this year, the Magic Kingdom, the first park in Disney World, celebrated its 50th anniversary. It opened October 1st, 1971. So he was in the park for a little bit, which he never does. So the word on the street is he would never show up to the parks in person. And if he did, it means something was wrong. And supposedly, when he was there for the 50th anniversary, he got booed and made fun of relentlessly by guests in the park.
Wow.
The sad thing is, the Disney bubble is full of very protective people. I was in it for a very long time. Because of Chapek, I'm just I'm done with Disney for the time being. That's a very small and intimate bubble of theme park diehards. The people that dislike Chapek are no longer that bubble. He's bleeding out to the mainstream here. This is not the people that don't follow theme park news are getting wind of it, and the tide is starting to turn of, well, we'll wait a couple of years before we go back to Disney. We'll go someplace else. Like Universal, who, is opening a new park in Orlando, where Disney's just going, we haven't opened a park since 1997. We're fine. We don't need to open anything else. Whereas Universal's going, expand or die. We like making people happy. And also, if we make things more expensive at Universal, we want to offer more things. Whereas Disney's going, we're going to make everything more expensive and show you less. I don't understand how the head of a company can just decide, hey, I just don't feel like going. It would be like, who's the commissioner of the NBA now?
It's not. I don't know because they're not in the news all the time.
Yeah, it was David Stern. Okay, Roger Goodell. Roger Goodell's the guy for the NFL. It would be like if Roger Goodell no-shows the Super Bowl. Come on, that's the one day of the year that you've got to be here. Josh, as a Disney outsider,
as someone who doesn't really care.
As a Disney outsider, have you as someone that doesn't follow the theme parks or Disney as a product super close, have you noticed a shift? And if so,
Oh yeah. Oh
if
yeah.
so, what's your reaction to someone no showing an event?
I it's definitely like some of this news I get through doing research for the pod, and just trying to make sure that I'm up to date on certain things on the news topics. But it's just a lot of the stuff and the vibe that Disney's been giving off lately is even to the point of like, I think the big thing that I actually had a long conversation with some of my family members about was his Bob Chapek's comment that went public about Shang-Chi, which was, it's an experiment. No, it's like,
Which, something to note.
Experiment how?
Something to note. Of all the theatrical released movies that have come out under Chapek's tenure, he has shown up to none of the premieres of these movies. He does not come out unless he absolutely has to, kicking and screaming. He does not back the people making his own products.
No, he doesn't. And hearing, it'd be like if the president didn't showed the presidential ball. Like, that's like the thing that you're supposed to go to, dude. Like, I don't understand. It is kind of, I think in any other scenario, it'd be a no story. But because of the constant stuff that Bob Chapek keeps pulling, it feels like yet another reveal of character. Yet another, like, well, okay, maybe Disney is changing, but not necessarily for the better. And it's like, okay, well, I've seen a lot of people who are Disney diehards have to have that conversation with themselves of, how do I support the artists without supporting Disney? How do I enjoy the product without giving Disney more money? It's just because Bob Chapek is screwing a lot of stuff up. Like you said, it's kind of like Kathleen Kennedy, man. Like, as the CEO of a company, of a media company, you should not be in the news a whole lot, man. Like, that's not, the headline shouldn't be about you. And you can sit here and say, well, oh, it's because, being targeted and it's a new transition, and that it's not my fault. But like, dude, if you're not showing up to one of the only events you like kind of have to show up to because you're worried about getting booed and heckled, you're feeding into that. Like, if you're trying to show that you're not that and you're stronger than that, then maybe, like, don't play the game.
If you're going to be a CEO, if you're going to be a CEO, you've got to have thick skin. Like, as much as I think he's not a good commissioner, say what you will, Roger Goodell, but he could take the punches. Like, he gets booed mercilessly every single NFL draft, but he leans into that. He knows he's got to make hard decisions. Anyone in a place of power knows that they're not always going to be liked. The problem is with Chapek, he surrounded himself with so many yes men that if anybody dares to say they don't agree with something, they're either quietly taken out back and never seen again, or he gets surprised that somebody disagrees. Now, what's annoying is there's a lot of change that has been implemented that he'll be like, well, because of the pandemic, well, I would believe that if you yourself hadn't gone on record not too long ago saying, well, the pandemic has just sped up some plans that we already had in the works. I'm going, oops. There's so many times that he like says something and then doesn't realize, everything you say will be written down and jotted down forever for reference because you're the CEO. People remember what you say. Like, he threw some shade a few months 2 years ago. Universal and Disney were both opening new big attractions at the exact same time. One of them, the Universal one, had some technical problems, and so it had really, really long lines, up to 10 hours. But it was still a massively popular ride. And Chapek went, well, we don't base our rides on how long of a wait it is. And so when their ride opened with a lot of technical issues and didn't have a line, he completely changed how you get on the ride, because he he didn't want to backpedal on his statements that he made a few months earlier. I'm going, oops.
It's a conversation about the PR team. Like,
Yeah.
does this guy not realize that perception is reality? And if you say, and you and I have seen some kind of insiders that are in the boardroom saying, like, yeah, like, we can understand how it's being said, how it can be perceived. That's not the way he means it. He's, blah, blah, blah. But, like, I'm sorry, as the CEO of a multi-billion-dollar media company, perception is reality. And you've got to, like, your PR team has got to be stronger than, I'm going to be aggressive to reporters, because that always ends up well. Like,
yeah, you want those people on your side more than anything else. You know what's bad? When literally hundreds and thousands and tens of thousands of former Disney employees have signed petitions started by former Disney employees to get him fired. Like, and a whole bunch of people from California are being forced to move to Florida to centralize stuff because he doesn't want to travel as much and save some money. I just don't understand how he can be in this position for much longer, and I really don't think he will be. Just wow is all I can ever really say about Mr. Clean over here.